Hey everyone! Welcome to the Middle School Visual Arts PLC group. My name is Alicia Montgomery and I'm the moderator for this group. I'm so glad that you've joined this community. It was created with you in mind. Our goal is to collaborate and support each other as we navigate the craziness of teaching middle school visual arts. Whether you're the only one in your system or one of many, we know that you're going to find things here that will help you. In order to make this as beneficial as possible for everyone, be sure to set up your notifications and check back often to see posts, discussions, and support that will be showcased. Please engage in discussions and offer up any support or questions that you may have. Also, share this platform with your colleagues and friends. Today's topic is going to be arts advocacy, community engagement, and creating community. So glad that you're here and that you've joined us. So what is advocacy? Advocacy is about educating and informing elected officials, the public, and the media about the importance of the visual arts. It is up to us as visual artists and educators to explain the value of the visual arts to these stakeholders. So we've got to know our legislation. The legislature makes a lot of decisions that revolve around education and really impact the support for art education. While No Child Left Behind contained language about art being a core subject, the Every Student Succeeds Act, passed in 2015, has named art and music as topics beneficial to a well-rounded education. This language has allowed for the state and local legislatures to make decisions on new funding opportunities for the arts. The Every Student Succeeds Act is written in a way that makes it possible for us to be able to use Title I funds for visual arts. Title I schools are in great need of arts education for their students, and this is a great way to ensure funding for our art programs. So, to be able to advocate for the arts, we must also know how the arts and culture impact our state of Georgia. So in the state of Georgia, the arts and culture have a $37 billion annual revenue. We have a $62.5 billion total economic impact. And we create 200,000 jobs across the state. This makes up 5% of all the employment in Georgia and 4% of all the business revenue that comes into our state. So the Georgia Council for the Arts has created this little Georgia's Creative Economy program flyer. And this is what it looks like. And it gives you a lot more details about the different community and arts programs that are out there, and it breaks it down into film and television, music, digital entertainment, and arts and culture. So you can see a lot of those statistics that I just showed you. It also goes through and gives you some information about each of those and some of the businesses that we have here in Georgia and where they're located within our state. So this is a really good advocacy tool. I will also put a link to this in our discussion tab so you can go and find it really easily. In the arts and culture, there's 7 places that they pulled out as being really good for Georgia's creative economy. So you can take a look at those and see kind of how we stack up against other things. All right, one of the ways that I advocate for art in my art education program is through Youth Art Month. That's probably our biggest one. In this one, for us, we have a lot of hallway displays. We have a nice little plexiglass wood case that our maintenance guys have created for us, and it's hanging in our main hallway. It locks, so it's really nice. Other students can't bother it. But we put the students' artwork in there of things that we're doing. And we really do this not just for Youth Art Month, but we do that throughout the year. Also for the Youth Art Month, we have announcements on the Intercom daily. We do quotes by different artists or about different art styles or specific artworks. So the students get to hear a little bit about art every day for the month of March. Another thing that we do is we have our 7th graders do a news program each week, and so we'll have our students come in or have the news team come in and interview some of our art students, kind of talk to them about what they like about art and why they think it's important. And then another thing that our school system does is Facebook posts. So I can send information to the person in charge of Facebook, and they'll get those things posted for us. I send out artwork. Of course, you have to make sure you have parental permission. We do that at the beginning of the year for all of our students. So this is what one of our hallway displays might look like. And this is some of my 7th graders' bedroom design projects. All right, we also have a display at the Board of Education, and it looks similar to the one we have at school. And this is actually some elementary school work, but this is what our case looks like, and we rotate it out. So a couple of elementary schools have a month, then I have a month, the junior high and the high school each have a month. So we can take turns showcasing to our school board and whoever comes into our superintendent's office what we do in our schools with our art education program. Another thing that I do is we have focus months each month. It might be Hispanic Heritage Month, it might be Native American History, it might be Women's History. So we have a different focus for each month in our school. And so we have created murals, just very temporary ones, to put on the walls during those months. The one you see here is from Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of the Native American ones we did. And those are collaborative murals. So each of the students gets a small square, and then my 6th graders just paint or color inside of it. My 7th graders draw it and then paint it. And so then we put those all together to create these different murals for the different times of the year. So another thing with being an effective art advocate is making sure that you have community engagement as well. So you have to advocate within your school, but you also have to get your art out of your school building and involve the art community. You can engage your community regardless of where you are or what kind of community you're in. I'm in a rural community, so sometimes we have to be really creative for opportunities to be able to get our student artwork out there and be able to engage with our community. So one of the things that we do is every month for the month of March, except for this year because of COVID, all right, we have a Youth Art Month exhibit at our local art center, and we send invitations home to our students and their families, inviting them. Normally we have an opening reception, and we try to tie that in with the opening reception of a professional art gallery opening, so that way the students can get to see that professional work, and brings the community in, and so the community will come for that exhibit, but they will also come and see our students' work while they're there. And this also brings a lot of our students' families in that wouldn't normally come into the art center. And so it opens that up for us and for our local art center as well. And so this is a picture of our art exhibit from last year, and this is all some of my middle school students' work. Another thing that we do with this is we send invitations to our administrators for all the schools that participate. We send it to our superintendent. We send it to our local school board members. And we also send it to our city mayor. So it gets everybody involved. Our mayor's wife comes quite often, almost every year, to these exhibits. And she loves what we do. And she really helps us advocate for the arts, which is a really good, strong point for us. The reception that we do, we get the community involved, usually either the Kiwanis Club or the Junior Service League comes and helps with, supplies the refreshments and serves that night for us. This year, because of the pandemic, they are doing a virtual exhibit. So we're picking some of our students' artwork, taking high quality photos and sending those to the Art Center, and then they are going to upload those onto their website so that those will be available to the public this year. So we can't have an in-person exhibit. Another way that we involve and engage with our community is through our local public library. One year, the Historical Society was having an exhibit of hats from different time periods. Some of them were just fashion statements, some of them were like from different periods of war, uniforms, those kinds of things. And so when they did that, they asked us to create some hats and present these along with the Historical Society's hat exhibit. So these hats are some that my students made, and we put on exhibit at the local library during that same time. So people from all over the community got to come and see not only the Historical Society ones, but the ones that our students made as well. And they had a nice little reception for us as well that they sponsored. Another way that we reach out is through business displays. We've reached out to our local Chamber of Commerce, and they've given us some contacts at different businesses around town that will allow us to come in and put artwork in their businesses. Some of it's for sale, some of it's not for sale. If they sell it, then the cost comes back to us. We work with the local library, like I just talked about. We work with those different restaurants. And then sometimes downtown we'll have empty businesses. And so we work with the Chamber of Commerce and we go in and put in artwork in those window fronts for certain times of the year, maybe for Christmas or for Youth Art Month or different things that are going on. And just this week, I got a call or an email from the hospital or from the Junior Service League to do an exhibit at the hospital. So we'll have our student artwork there for a couple of months. It's just a community outreach program that they have done. So sometimes people will reach out to you as well once they know that you're willing to do that. All right, we also do some exhibits at our local and state fairs and festivals. So one of the big ones that we participate in is the Georgia National Fair. We are very far south, so we'll usually get several of us from our county, and we'll get together and compile our artwork, and then somebody will drive it up the day that it needs to be turned in, and then a different person will bring it back. So we kind of worked as a team in those regards. The Agricultural Expo is a big agricultural fair or exhibit that we have here every year. Most of you know what that is. So we have our students go out and set up a booth in conjunction with some of the other schools, and we have some of our artwork there as well. And then there's a lot of community festivals that go on around us. Fun things like the Grits Festival or the Peanut Festival or the Nat Days Festivals. So there are all kinds of different little small town festivals around us that love for us to come in and bring our artwork and set up little displays. All right, so another thing that we've got to do is be able to create community. So how do I do that with my students? All right, one of the ways that I do that is through a classroom community game called 3 Truths and a Lie. So all of my students will come in and they will write down on an index card 3 things that are true about them and 1 thing that is a lie. And I'll write mine on the board for them to get them started. And then we go around the room and we try to pick out which thing is the lie about each of those people. And sometimes they're really funny. Sometimes they're real easy to pick out, and sometimes they're really hard to decide which one is not true. So they have a lot of fun with that, and it helps them to get to know each other. So a lot of our students are coming in from 13 different elementary schools. They don't know people that didn't go to elementary school with them, so that kind of helps with that. Helps them see the similarities between themselves as well. Another thing that we do in my classroom is we work towards a reward. So I may have my first period compete with my second period to see who can get the most points for being on task or the most points for following the rules, or the most points for being ready at the tardy bell. So whatever it is that I need a little bit of extra help with, we turn that into a challenge between our classes, or sometimes even between groups within the classroom. One of the things that I use for my rewards for this is like outside time on a Friday, or a popcorn day, or you get to listen to your music day on your technology, or we'll have a movie day at the end of the 9 weeks. It just kind of depends on what the project is that we're working on and what the task is that we're working for as well. Another one that I really like is called the Take a Stand and Stand game. So you'll do things like, if your favorite color is red, stand up. And that helps students see that they're more similar than they are different in a lot of ways. How many of you stand up if you're born in Georgia? Stand up if you were born outside of the United States. Stand up if you have cats. Stand up if you have dogs. So we do that a lot at the beginning of the year as well, to try to help foster that idea of community within our classroom. Another thing that really helps is to learn your students' names, and I know that can be really hard. I teach about 220 students a quarter, and so I have to have a seating chart with their picture on it, and I have to stand at my podium while they're working and just try to memorize their names. As long as they're in my classroom, I've got them. If I see them in the hallway, that might be a different story. But then I try to make sure that I call them by their names when I'm calling on people to do different things or to pick up tasks, even if I have to look at my seating chart before I do it. So I just think that's really important, and the kids find that really appealing. It makes them feel like they're important. I also have my students learn the names of the people that sit at the table with them, because a lot of times I had found that we'd get halfway through the 9 weeks and they wouldn't know the person sitting at the end of the table. So I tell them we have a pop quiz, and I give them a few minutes to talk to each other, learn each other's names, and then either that day or the next class day, I have them write down their table mates' names on an index card. And then if they don't know, they have to ask them. So another thing that we do is a scavenger hunt. Students have to find somebody that has some of the same qualities as they do. So it's kind of like the Take a Stand and Stand game. So they have to find somebody whose favorite color is the same as theirs. Or they have to find somebody who has the same kind of pets they do. Or they have to find somebody who was born in the same, either within or outside of the state like they were, or born in the same state they were. So just a lot of just quick little fun activities. These don't take very long at all, but they really help form that sense of community. Another thing that I like to do is kindness cards. And what we do is we take a sticky note or an index card, and after the students have kind of gotten to know each other a little bit, I have them write down something positive about each person at their table. So what they would do is they would write their name at the top of their card, and that's all they would put. Then they would pass it to the person to their right, and then that person would write something nice about whoever's name is at the top. And we pass it to the right, and somebody would write something nice about the person at the top. And I tell them, if you can't think of something, just like maybe they wore some shoes that you thought were cool one day, just write that on there. But you need to write something nice about each person. And then before it gets back to the original person, I just take those up, go through them really quickly, make sure everything is positive, and then I give it back to that student that had their name at the top originally. So that's kind of a fun way we handle that as well. And then another thing that I do is work ethics. When I was teaching college, I was on a board to help decide what we needed to be doing better to prepare our students to go into the workforce. And the biggest thing that those businesses said was the lack of work ethics that our students have. So I think it's really important that we go ahead and start teaching those things early. So we talk about attendance and being on time and respect and teamwork and cooperation and all of those things within our class. And they earn points towards their work ethics grade, which is part of their grade every 9 weeks. Or or the points are earned each day for the 9 weeks. All right, another thing that's really important is our professional community. We've got to foster that community inside of our classroom, but how do we as professionals form our own community to help support each other and to gain support as well? So I started in college. I had a lot of artist friends. My first degree was in fine arts, and so a lot of those people I still keep in contact with, and they help me keep abreast of different techniques and things that are coming out. My second degree was in art education, and so while I was there, I joined the Student Georgia Art Education Association chapter, and that was a life changer for me. That was a profession changer for me. That gave me the support that I needed to be a strong, effective teacher in so many different ways, and realize that I'm not alone, even though I'm the only art teacher in my school and the only art teacher in my county. So I have made a lot of friends, and you'll see pictures of these guys in some of these pictures on this slide, that I have learned to bounce ideas off of, that we spend a lot of time talking about problems that we're having, things that are going good, what are some lessons, how do I deal with this challenging student? So that's really been a very effective tool for me to have. And it's built a lot of new friendships that have really been effective at helping me be the best teacher that I can be. I was on the Georgia Art Education Association board for several years. I went to a lot of the conferences, which really gave me a lot of hands-on experience, helped understand new standards when they came out, and how we could apply those to things that we were already doing. A lot of new project ideas. The National Art Education Association has a great website that helps with lesson planning and research and a lot of those things as well. The art teacher conferences are probably my favorite, and that's where these pictures came from. They are throughout the state of Georgia normally. Okay. They rotate around so that they're hopefully close enough where everybody can at least attend, and that's a big peer builder. We also have county art meetings where I meet with the art teachers from the other schools, and we try to do that at least once every other month to get together. We do some vertical teaming, talk about things that are going on at our schools, what we can do better, show off our artwork and say, hey, look what my kids did, so we can kind of pat each other on the back. We have district PLCs, but most of those, as many of you know, aren't really specific to the arts, so it would be things like classroom management, reading cross-curricularly, a lot of those things that we need and that are helpful for a lot of us, but they're not so much specific to our field of study, what we're teaching. There are a lot of virtual PLCs like this one, but there's also a lot of others out there so that you can participate in. There are a lot of blogs that you can read that are really helpful. The local recess will often do projects and lessons for art teachers as well, if you'll check into those. There's a lot of ideas on social media, a lot of things on Facebook, a lot of things on Pinterest that you can use or adapt or modify to fit your level of teaching. And then the local art center is really helpful. We work with the youth director over there to come up with a lot of things. They've even written a grant for ceramics artists to come in and work with our students in our schools. So we're hoping to get that rolling for next year. So talk with those people. They can help you out. It's not always one way. Okay, those connections can and should be two-sided. So you have a lot of give and take there. All right, well, thank you for joining us. Please take a few minutes to participate in our discussion question that's posted. I can't wait to hear all of your wonderful ideas, and as I've shared some of my own. So be sure to subscribe, and also You don't want to miss out any of our updates and posts and discussions, so make sure that you join in the fun by clicking those subscribe buttons when you get done. And remember, monthly we'll be posting new videos, each with its own topic tailored just for us middle school art teachers.